Good evening, everyone. Would you please find a seat, ready to begin? And I'll just say once again, if you are in the audience and you would like to submit a question for the candidates, we have people who are passing out cards and pencils. You could write down your questions and give them to our question runners. And then the question runners will bring them up here to us. Run them up. We are still missing one candidate, but we will go ahead and begin. And if she joins us, we'll put her into the sequence here. So welcome to the forum for member of Union City, City Council, District 1. This forum is sponsored by, as a service to the voters, by the League of Women Voters at Fremont, Newark, and Union City. I am Jane Mueller. I'm a member of the League, and I'm going to be the moderator for this session. The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan, although we do take positions on issues. We study issues that have potential governmental solutions. We study them, develop consensus among our members, and then once we've developed a position, we do take action on it. However, and this is really important for everyone to understand, we never support or oppose any political party or candidate for office. This forum is part of the League's voter service function based on our mission to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation of citizens in government. And the members of the audience, as well as the candidates, are all doing that. Thank you very much. We congratulate you. So here are the ground rules. Our questions are collected from League members and from you in the audience. And because of time constraints, we may not be able to get to all of them. So what we are doing, what my friends Sandy and Evelyn are doing here, will be sorting them to be sure that I get the ones that are most frequently asked, so we hit those first. Each candidate has up to a minute and a half to answer the questions. And candidates are volunteer timers here. Miriam and, Jason will give you a cue as to when you have 15 seconds left and when your time is up. Please don't feel you have to use the whole minute and a half if you don't want to. Let's see, I will vary the order in which I direct questions to the candidates so that they're not always speaking in the same sequence. And at the end of the forum, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. So we have drawn numbers to see who goes first. And let me introduce you first to the candidates. Are you ready? Okay, the first one is Erin Robertson. And next to her is Lance Mishihira. And next to her is Wendy Guam. Okay, so let's see, we'll start with the first. I'm going to give you all the same first question, and the order in which we drew is Erin gets to go first, followed by Wendy, followed by Lance. So the first question is, what do you, what I actually want to ask is that one about, it's the one everyone wants to answer. Why are you running for this office, and what do you hope to be able to accomplish? And let's start with Erin.
Hello, I'm Erin Robertson. I'm running for District 1 City Council. I previously, the reason why I want to run for City Council is I feel like service is in my spirit. I've done a lot of service with the community. I've packed lunches and fed homeless. That was like on my own. And then, also doing that with my church. I drove the bus here for several years. For Dumbarton Express, so my job was in service, and previous to that, I worked in paratransit, where I transferred people who are handicapped and senior to and from their appointments and wherever they need to go. So I've done a lot of service, and I think that's was in my spirit, so that's why I want to be your city council member for District 1.
Thank you. Question number 2 goes to Wendy. It's the same question.
it like a minute, 30 seconds?
A minute and 30 seconds.
Okay. So the reason I'm running is that I'm also known as a charity lady. So I have done charity all my life, so you can go to my website and check it out. The reason I'm running for office is that Union City is at a crossroad. With an annual deficit of nearly $3 million, rising crimes, higher taxation, and our city should not be a gateway for drugs, nor should it suffer the loss of business opportunities with much needed high-paying jobs. This is why I'm running. This is why I'm fighting. I'm Wendy Huang. I'm a resident of Union City for 26 years, running as the only Asian city councilwoman, with an aim to unite with what we have in common and not be divided by our differences. In addition to real estate investing, I had a successful career in high tech as a director of sales and marketing, and later as a director of operations. I work with hundreds of tech executives that make my company profitable. My caring leadership will bring a much needed fresh servitude to the city council, focusing on public safety, economic growth, fiscal responsibility, and most importantly, assuring that residents' voices will be heard regardless of your ethnicity, religious background, and preferences. For the past year, I have successfully advocated for Union City residents, and I will work to bring industries with high-paying jobs with tax revenues that Union City residents can feel safe and proud of. And this is the reason why I'm running for City Council. Together with your votes, let's make Union City a safe and prosperous city to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Lance Nishihira. Same question.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lance Nishihira. For those of you who know me, you would know that service is really at the center of everything that I do. Whether it was when I was one of the first Eagle Scouts here in Troop 20, here in District 1, or the fact that I was a former Marine, I've always answered the call to serve. And so when my youngest daughter was a kindergartner, she got a little flyer that said that somebody was needed to sit on the school site council. I didn't even know what school site council was, but I said, you know what? I'm going to answer the call as I've always done. And so for the past 18 years, I've been very active in the district, in the school district, and for the last 8 years, I've had the pleasure of being your elected school board member. And so, knowing that service is at the core, I'm always asking, what is next? And so, my youngest daughter, Maya, just graduated from James Logan. Now she's at UC Santa Cruz. And so then it was time for me to reflect on myself and say, what's next? So I rolled up my sleeves and I figured the next thing that I could possibly do is run for city council. I believe I'm the most qualified, I'm the most experienced, I'm the most approachable, and I'd be very grateful to have your vote. Thank you.
The next question, the order will be Wendy Huang, Lance Nishihira, and Aaron Robertson. And here is the question. Union City faces tough fiscal challenges. How would you balance the budget and obtain more revenue?
This is one of the questions that people have been asking, and they want to know why, even with the highest taxation, the highest sales tax, we still have a deficit. I have talked to city and mayors of Fremont, Milpitas, they all have a balanced budget. So the first thing I like to do is I need some transparency. I found out it was very difficult to find what items are spent on, the money on. So the first thing is that we have to be transparent and we need to be honest where all the money goes. And number two is that we have to prioritize spending. We have to defer non-essential spendings. And what are non-essential spendings? Easy, just like a household. Usually the household, running a city is like a person running a home. So I also tell myself I'm the CEO of domestic enterprise. So when the money's not coming in, I look at this, but what needs to go out? It's your rent, it's your food, it's basically what keeps the city going. So that is basically salaries and basically keep the function. And then we go down from there. And if the money runs out, we don't have the budgets coming in, we would have to cut it. And number two, how do I bring revenue? With my experience, over a decade experience in tech industries, I negotiate with hundreds of tech executives, negotiating contracts, bring business, bring revenues. So this is what I'll do. I'll bring industries that will make Union City residents proud, and the tax revenues and also high-paying jobs that will bring the city. People come here to work instead of going out to work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I'm going to ask that the audience hold their applause until the end, because I'm afraid it's going to slow us down and mean that we get to fewer questions. Lance Nishihara, would you like to answer this question?
Okay, yeah. I think with budgets, one thing to think about is there is only a limit to so much, to how much you can cut. But if you focus on raising revenue lines, I think that's a great focus of effort. I served back in 2014 through 2016 on Union City's Economic Development Advisory Team. And the thing that you find out there is you end up seeing the types of businesses that come to this community. And I think one of the things that staff and city council really need to do is find ways of being able to establish small businesses in areas of a lot of activity. So, for example, when I was on the Economic Development Advisory Team, one of the big efforts was to grow out the Alvarado Merchants Association, right? And I think that's one of those things where we started to have the old Alvarado Merchants Association started to have a lot of legs, and there were several tree lightings. There were quite a few. There was 2 arts and wine festivals. So the question that I've never been able to really answer was, why did that fold? Why did that wind down? That was starting to spark a lot of economic development. That's one thing that I would do if I had more time. I would talk about a lot of other things to grow revenue in the city.
Thank you. Aaron Robertson, same question.
So the question is about helping with financial stability, correct?
It's how would you balance the city budget?
Balancing the city's budget. One thing that I noticed about Union City is that there's a lot of small businesses here, and I would like to grow that. I would like to have a lot more mom and pop businesses, because I once was a mom and pop business, and well, just mom, because it was just me. But I'm a licensed esthetician, and I believe in small businesses. And because of the pandemic, it really made my business struggle. And I talked to a lot of the business owners here in the community, and they felt the same way. And so it was all lots of uncertainty. And I don't want to ever have to revisit that. I don't want anybody to feel like they're not able to, they have to get an extra side job just so that they can make it with their small business. That's your dream, and I had the same concerns. So I want small businesses to thrive in Union City. I believe that more revenue will be generated by having more businesses come to this community, and we need to do what we can to attract them and not scare them away. I think that with regards to balancing a budget, yeah, cutting the fat is obviously, one of the key things, but we want to invest in projects that are going to help us in the future. It's going to create jobs for people in the future and not just throw money away. So, and that's what my plan would be. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for the next question, the order will be Lance Nishihara, and then Aaron Robertson, and then Wendy Huang. What is your position on ballot measure QQ, the Union City Essential Services Protection Measure?
Yes, currently I am supporting Measure QQ. I think it's a very clever way of being able to raise top line revenue to the city without necessarily affecting the residents in any big direct way. I think that businesses develop a lot of the things that businesses do are not just for themselves. They also create ecosystems where people go to eat and to play and to shop and to thrive. So in addition to sparking economic development with the modified business license, the city may be able to generate more revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Robertson?
Yes, I'm for anything that's going to generate revenue for the city. As you already know, like I said, I spoke to that. So I'm for Measure Q. And so I think that, the measures, unlike some measures, there's measures that take away from what's already been put into play. And I think that this is not one of them. I think this is one of them that will help us move forward and give the people the results that they seek. Thanks.
Thank you. Wendy Wong?
I also support Measure QQ. This business license has not been updated since the 1990s. And right now, if we project it to have some businesses that are not paying their fair share, if they pay, then we'll project it to about $3.5 million tax revenues that will bring into the city, basically fill in the gaps, like the annual deficits that we have of nearly $3 million. So that will bring our budgets to be a balanced budget. So I strongly support Measure QQ, and this way that we can get our infrastructure repaired, and also for our public safety. And so I support it too. Thank you.
Thank you. For the next question, the order will be Aaron Robertson, Wendy Wong, and Lance Nishihira. And the question is, what are the first 3 things you want to get done if you win?
Well, the first 3 things that I would do as your District 1 City Council, I would come in and I would first want to go over what we can do, like a strategic plan on what it is that we want to do going forward for our city. I think if we don't have a plan, we're just going in blindly and we're not doing, our due diligence to the people. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm going to bring in the suggestions that I've been getting all along from the community and bring those to the city council and let them know that, the city wants to see change. The things that have continued, that have gone on, all the businesses shutting down, the loss of revenue, we got to figure out something to bring more business to this community. So that would be 2 things. The third thing I think that I would do would be to touch base with my whoever the new mayor is, and make sure that we're aligning on what it is that we want to see for the community. I'm open to agreeing and disagreeing. I think that we should all be on the same team, which is doing what we have to do for the city of Union City. So that's my take on it.
Thank you. Okay, Wendy Wong?
So if I'm elected as a city councilwoman, there are 3 things that voters right now, residents right now are fed up. One is public safety, rising crimes that have been addressed. And number 2 is a lot of encampment issues. We have compassion for the homeless, but at the same time, we feel that we have been pouring, just the last few years, California has poured in $24 billion just to address the crisis. But it has not been solved, and the problem is actually it's getting worse. So that's the second thing that we have to address. And the third thing is, of course, the economics, how to bring in the type of industries that Union City residents can feel proud of and feel safe that they have this kind of industry in Union City. And so these are 3, but before that, we have to be able to work together. Because I know a lot of city council or elected officials all have great plans, all have great, visions, but yet they cannot work together. And I wanted to be a city council woman that has integrity, being honest, and being humble, and also listen to you people. And I want to be the voice for you. The reason people ask me, wait, Wendy, why you always wear black? Because you know what, I'm gonna die to myself. I'm gonna be your voice, and I'm gonna speak up for you in the city council meetings. And I'm gonna prioritize what's most important, because this city is a great city with diversity. So how do we come together? So I come here with the aim to unite with what we have in common and not be divided with our differences. And this is how I will start to address those 3 issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lance Nishihara.
So I think it's an interestingly worded question, because really the focus is on what the candidate is going to do, what the candidate can do, what the city council members do. The thing to understand is that no council member, no board member can do anything by themselves. It's 5 people up here, 5 people that are gonna vote one way or the other. So the important thing to note is Lance Nishihara, are not gonna do anything for the council. But as a city council member, the things that I will do is I'll take a look at where we are with our general plan. The one that I was on the general plan advisory committee back in 2016, so I know what the plan looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the plan and say, where are we? Let me just take a quick assessment of where we are. Second thing I'll do is I'll identify a list of projects to figure out, is there a project that's been languishing for a while and has been taking a while? What are the things that we can do to speed this up and figure out the ways to close things up? Now, I'll be that one council member who will say, if there's no objection from the council, I would like to have a standing item added to our agenda so that we can get status on this particular project. Those are the types of things I would do. And number 3, I would identify ways of bringing residents into the conversation. I was just recently at an ice cream closure meeting, and I felt the frustration of our residents feeling that they didn't have a voice in the decision. And although I know that may or may not be true, they certainly felt that they weren't involved. And one of the things I'll do is I'll find ways and avenues to be able to engage with the residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's see, I don't think I've given you a chance to answer that one yet, Evan, Ms. Roberts. You did answer it. Okay. I'm bound to lose track of this once in a while. The next question we have from the audience is in the area of public safety. Would you please comment on the crime rate in Union City and what you think needs to be done about it? And the answer for this is Wendy Kwong, Lance Nishihara, and Aaron Robertson.
Yes, public safety is the #1 concern from my talking to the residents, and it's actually a concern for the entire Bay Area and Californians. So one thing first we have to understand that we do have an issue. You have to acknowledge there is an issue. And right now what we have is that the reporting is down, doesn't mean the crime is down. And one thing, so we have seen the dramatic increase in terms of the crime increase since 2021, since certain business was open, the cannabis is open. Right now there's issues with break-ins, car break-ins, robberies, and also retail theft. These are the issues that people are just fed up with, that our law enforcement are doing a great job catching them, but yet it's catch and release. So one thing, these are the things. So first we have to acknowledge we have a problem, and it's not getting better. Just because the reporting is down, that doesn't mean we're any safer at all. So #1 thing is that I want to make reporting easier. That's #1, because I have heard people complain that right now, all these online portals, it's so difficult to file a report. And #2, a lot of them, they can't even speak English. So they just stop filing. So if you stop filing, doesn't mean there's no crime, it's just that this reporting is less. And #2 is that I'm the only candidate in Union City to publicly support Proposition 36. If Prop 47 is not working, I want Prop 36 to give a try. See, I want my law enforcement, my judges, and my district attorney to be colorblind, so that they can persecute the criminals. Lock up the criminals and not the merchandise. Thank you.
Okay, next is Mr. Nishihara.
Okay, now with public safety, I'm proud to say that I am the only candidate that's been endorsed by the Police Officers Association as well as the International Firefighters Association, Local 55. So if you're thinking about public safety, I'm the candidate. Now, with regard to what my opponent mentioned about crime, you have to ignore the reporting. The bottom line is that since crime has actually steadily been going down, the actual data really is it topped crime over the last 3 reporting years topped out from 200 for persons-related crime, dropped from 270 per 100,000 down to 239. Now, with regard to property crimes, in the same reporting period, it went from 29 crimes in 21 to 2370.1. So the narrative around crime going up, I think, is false. We're just I'm looking at the data, and you can't just ignore the data. We have data, and we should pay attention to it. So I don't think even though it may feel a certain way, there's always going to be some level of crime. But I think that looking at the data again, I think that it's on the downtick. It's not the doom and gloom that my opponent claims that it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Please hold your applause.
Aaron.
I've lost it again.
That's okay. So when we're talking about crime, yeah, and then she mentioned that she's the only one that's pro 36, and she might be right. I'm against Prop 36 being passed. I'm against over-policing of black and brown minorities, and I believe that there are alternatives to incarceration. Rehabilitation is one. Also, mental health treatment for people as well. When we're talking about our homeless, a lot of our homeless, that's what they're suffering from is mental illness. And they have a drug addiction problem as well. And so I think that that's what would help get a lot of people the help that they need. And that would actually help the community in keeping crime down, because they're committing property crimes to feed their habit. And we need to be, that program, that proposition would cut funds, $750 million to be exact, that would go towards mental health treatment and rehabilitation. As far as crime in the city, as last I checked, it's actually up. And I believe recently Union City hired 2 more policemen. So that's also another thing. As far as making it easier to report crimes, I'm not really sure that it's difficult to report crimes at this time. But I do believe that the crimes that have been up, and that needs to be addressed.
Thank you. The next question we have, group of questions we have relates to schools. The question is, the school district is looking to pass a ballot measure to support school buildings. Where do you stand on Measure N, and how would you support the school district from the city aspect? And the order of answering for this one will be Lance Nishihara. I'm sorry, I keep doing that. Lance Nishihara, Aaron Robertson, and then Wendy Wong.
Okay, so it should be no secret, I'm definitely for Measure N. I am actually I'm on the committee. I'm currently on the school board, so I do understand the importance and the needs. We currently have a facilities master plan in the school district of over $1 billion worth of identified needs. So right now, I am for Measure N because it will generate about $260 million of local revenue. But matched with Prop 2 at the state level, that could actually have a dollar for dollar match, so we can get close to $500 million. So we might get about halfway to solving, to fixing the facilities gap. We still have, James Logan High School, which will probably be a concentration of a lot of the Measure N money, was built in the 1960s. And it is really spread out. It's old concrete cinder block construction, and it's really spread out, so it's a very poor use of land use. And anybody, like my 12th, when my daughter was in 12th grade, she had to go from one side of Logan to the other side of Logan, and she was constantly trying to beat the clock. If we actually used a little bit more density and maybe we went up 1 or 2 flights, we could actually reduce the impact of our footprint while also making the school easier to navigate.
Thank you. Erin Robertson?
Yes, so I am for Measure N, and I am for the measure, of course, because my child went to school here in Union City. My son graduated and went to LSU. So my son is a product of this community, not me. I went to school in Milpitas, but I graduated from Milpitas High. So, you know, the whole point is that I understand that this is something that affects this community greatly, our community, and I believe that the children need to have adequate facilities to be educated. A lot of these facilities, you can see they are dated. And we have, you know, new technology, we have all these different things that would impact our children greatly, give them a brighter future. So I'm all for that. I'm also for jobs, creating jobs, so that's good when we're doing anything as far as like projects and upgrades to our facilities. So I'm for that.
Wendy Wong?
I'm for any private institutions, donations that want to improve our school buildings. Right now, I'll just give you some statistics. Union City residents per capita income is less than $53,000. That's per person. And right now, our bond measures, these debt services to these individuals, it's about 0.25%, a quarter more to their tax bills. And if you look at your tax bill, it's called debt service. I'm all for, you know, trying to improve our school buildings, any buildings, and that's great. But how we think about every time we need to do something, we're going back to each individual resident to ask them for money. And that's the tax bill is just so I tell you. Each per capita income is less than $53,000. At the national level, with the national debt at $35 trillion, and also the unfunded liabilities with Medicare and Social Security, each citizen is responsible for $750,000. That's everybody sitting here, every single one. And if you're a taxpayer, that's nearly $2 million. And that's not including all the taxes at the state level and also at the municipal level with the sales tax. Yes, I'm all for, you know, trying to bring this, you know, school better, make school better. But how about also make the grades better? Thank you.
Thank you. The next question seems, there are a couple of them that seem to be related to land use. How can public spaces be protected and community services be protected? Is there enough space for all the new businesses and the new homes? And we'll start with Ms. Robertson, then Ms. Huang, and then Mr. Ishii.
Yes, so as some of you may know, part of Union City is actually in the hills. So that's like land that we don't use. So like that's like half of this whole territory. So with that, I understand that that's why this question is prompted. We have so little land that we can use. But taking a look around here and even in Fremont, you'll see a lot of retail spaces that are open and vacant. And like I said before, that would be one of my priorities, drawing businesses to our community, bringing new business that can, you know, fill those spaces. Do we have enough room? I believe so, because, the pandemic kind of wiped us out, as far as like parks and everything like that. We have plenty of parks. I think all the parks are awesome. I use the dog parks, but in the parks that are, around for kids, the skate park here, and I think that that they're fine. I think that maybe a little bit of upgrade would do. But as far as like businesses, yeah, we have a lot of vacant spaces. So I think that we would have room for new businesses to come to our community.
Thank you. Ms. Wong?
Union City has lost nearly 7% of population since the last census in 2020. Now the population is about 65,000 people. And on average, Union City has about 3,600 people per square mile. The Alameda County average is 2,200 per square mile. Do you know what is across the Dunbar Bridge 84? Portola and then Westbrook on the other side? It's less than 500 people per square mile. You know the United States average? It's less than 100 per square mile. 100. Why am I giving you this data? People have been complaining to me about the traffic, and not just traffic, the congestion that they're worried about. They're worried about safety. In case there's a natural disaster, people cannot get out. So I wanted to know, if we're losing population right now, why are we cramming? Why are we taking away our open space that we needed, we much needed for our future generations? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nishihira?
All right, so the thing about Union City and most suburban areas in our area and in our region is that they were developed post-war during the interstate boom, and they sprawled out, and everything was very car-based. And so it was fine when gas was super easy and super cheap, and nobody really had any worries about climate back then. But now we are right now where we are. And the way that I would look at this, because I've looked at the housing element, is right now Union City wants to be very transit-oriented. They want transit-oriented development to be close to transit. Now we have a lot of really, really good developments that are currently in place, and I fully support building high density close to transit. And so I think that's strategically where we should focus. We also have a central area, and you all know it, where all the warehouses are. Guess what? Those warehouses bring in very, very little revenue for the city. They also use our resources and our streets. They tear up our streets, and we have to fix them. And they provide very little well-paying, livable wage jobs. So I would look at ways of rezoning that so that we can balance things out, so that we can get beyond where we were in the 1950s and catch up to where we are today.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Robertson?
As far as the, I asked this question.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm all right. Okay. Let's see. About what's coming up. Okay. So for the next one, how do you propose we meet our state housing element requirement? And we'll start with Mr. Nishihira, and then Ms. Robertson, and then Ms. Bell.
Okay, I think we're on our way, and the good news is that we have a lot of shovel-ready projects. We have a lot of things that are currently underway. So as far as how we're going to be achieving that, I think it's putting the pedal to the metal and executing on the plan that we already have, ensuring that if there's any issues, that we address them very quickly. But in terms of meeting that state requirement, I think that we're already on the way. Now it's just about making sure that we have a team in place that can get it done. Thanks.
Yes, so as far as the housing development projects, yeah, a lot of them are underway. They are overdue and they need to be sped up. And I think that we as a community, we're not any different than any other communities that have projects that are coming down the pipeline. I think they all have the same issues with, years and years of, projecting like when we're gonna be have these projects done. And I think one of the projects in particular is the one on 7th Street in Dakota, and right by the BART station. And that kind of goes back to, the transition that, we want to have transportation and housing next to each other and kind of build into that model, because those are the things, those seem to work. And so a lot of projects are being held up, basically. And so if I was elected, that would be one of my main goals, is to push that forward. I'm also one of the people who are for building, seeing if we can get a building on your property as far as like a tiny homes or in-law suites, so that people can generate revenue who may want to generate income in their retirement or increase the value of their homes. That would also be a short-term fix to a housing shortage in our community. And a lot of other communities in the Bay Area have also played with that idea as well. So,
Thank you. Ms. Wong?
I believe that all housing should be affordable to Californians, especially if you're a native to America, to California. Why only 25% is affordable? Why only certain 10% for the new developments are available? Not just me, the other 75% is not affordable. Union City, the median home price is over $1 million, while the county average is 900,000. So why is our homes not affordable? Who defines what affordable means? So at a municipal level, if I'm elected as city council, I'll look at why is our fees are costing, it's making 75% or 90% of the homes not affordable. One things we can look at is fees, regulations, lead time. Because if it takes a long time for even a contractor or a big developer to get their products out there, guess what? It's going to add to the cost of the housing. So why only make 25% affordable? Let's make 100% affordable for Californians. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have time for 2 more questions here. One we have from the audience is, what city services do you believe are essential, especially as it relates to our youth? And we'll start with Ms. Robertson, and then Ms. Wong, and then Mr. Ishii.
that's an easy question. I believe transportation, because our youth, they have to get around, and a lot of them are not licensed drivers. So, and me being a former bus driver in this community, I understand that that is a priority. Making sure that the children have Clipper cards so that they can get in, on the BART and the bus and utilize those services. I think that that's very important. As far as other services for the youth, healthcare services, making sure that that information is out there and that is accessible for our youth, so that they can get treatment if they want to get a flu shot or a COVID shot. They shouldn't have any stumbling blocks in their way. We should be able to provide that as a community for our kids. So those are just a couple, but I'll yield the rest of my time to one of my.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wong?
I was a youth before, and a lot of the service that was provided was by private partnership. And I believe that private citizens, private organizations can do a great job, and a lot of times even better job than what city can do. But city can be there watching them, make sure that they are following the law, they're not breaking our constitution, both at the U.S. Constitution and California Constitution. So I believe in private partnerships, volunteerism, and to get family involved is more important because we cannot separate family members with youth, and that's very important. A lot of times the leadership or the mentorship is actually from your own family members. Your own family members has the best interest to bring this child to be a responsible adult. And I believe that as a city, I would find out what private organizations are doing a great job of bringing youth, because they do it voluntarily. So if they're not doing a good job, they're not going to do it. But for city, it's different. Okay, a city, if you're paying someone to do that, guess what? That's what they do. So I want to make sure any youth service that's been done is done a great job, not just because there's a service there. And that's my goal. And then my job is to be the person to make sure that happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nishihira.
Can you rephrase the question one more time?
Yes. What city services do you believe are essential, especially as it relates to our youth?
Okay. I think some of these have already been mentioned, but I will mention transportation again. One of the things that happened to our students, especially in our marginalized community, was the closure of Bernard White Middle School back in 2007. And at the time, one of the main questions was going to be, well, how are our kids going to be able to get to school when they used to have to walk 2 blocks? Now they have to walk 2.5 miles. And so one of the things that I did recently when I was on the school board was I championed the coordination with Union City Transit to bring back bus service to the Dakota area, so there could be a 1-seat bus ride to Cedar Chavez into Logan. Those are the types of services that I think are critical to our students, and I have experience on the school board being able to get those types of things done. The other thing, if I have time, I'll talk about is our trails. I think we should start looking at our trails as being more than just recreation, and we should actually think about our trails as transportation infrastructure. We need to find ways of being able to have people feel comfortable riding their bicycles and their e-scooters and whatever else to circulate throughout the city without fear of being plastered by a car. So those are 2 of the big ones. Because here's the thing, kids don't drive. And that was a real question that I had, which was, why don't kids walk to school or ride their bike to school anymore? And it becomes circular logic. I don't want my kids being in harm's way. And so I'm going to get in my car, and it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and then we just have to get cars on the road. So happy to talk about it more later.
Thank you. Okay, I think we'll have time for this one more question before we go to closing statements. And the question is, please discuss the recent police reorganization in Union City. And we'll go first with Ms. Wong, and then Mr. Nishihira, and then Ms. Robertson.
Unfortunately, I was told that I cannot talk to city employees about issues because it's election time. So that's one thing. But I have always vowed and defended our police department, our law enforcement. And one thing is that this is what we need, because right now there's rising crimes. And one thing as leaders, we want to stabilize the society, stabilize the community, and policing is important. They are there to make sure that people feel safe. They are there to deter crimes. They are there to make sure that the criminals don't come back. So I support my law enforcement, but I want to make sure that our law enforcement, including the judges and the district attorney, are colorblind when they catch criminals, because victims has no color. There's no color. So my police department has to be colorblind, and this is how they can rebuild trust with the community, and whatever the restructure is, I support it because I want to make sure that they feel that they are supported by their elected officials, and that's how we can build trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nishihira.
Okay, the question was about the the police department reorganization. So I'll answer that question. I have a lot of experience working with the police department, as I was a neighborhood watch lead in my neighborhood in Westview, and I used to work with the cops team back in back in 2014, 2015. There have been a few changes with the cops program. They were actually, cops program was actually defunded, and then just recently with the reorganization that you're talking about, which is, I believe, the district policing model, where each of the different city council districts have their own police representative, I believe it's going to be very positive because you'll have a lot more active engagement. Because that's one of the most important things about community policing is having police officers that will engage and will answer the questions. If there are issues that people have with public safety, they know who to call. They can call their local district police captain. And so I'm really in favor of it. Anything that allows our police officers to interact in a positive way with our constituents and our residents, I believe is good. And so I fully support that, because ultimately we want to make sure that our residents feel safe and they feel connected. That's the other thing that I think district policing does. It allows residents to feel a sense of connection, not just with their law enforcement, but also with their community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robertson.
Yes. So, as far as the reorganization of the police force, I'm all for that. There needs to be more transparency. There also needs to be, more people seeing these people in the community and building trust. And so that's also another part of that. And I know that our police force is a little bit smaller than the other forces in the Bay Area, and I know that the police force, they do what they can to utilize the resources that they have, which is whether it be, Fremont, having Fremont police come and help with any, crisis situations, or, the sheriff. And I know that they are doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. And as the city council, we're, as your city council member, my job would be to make sure that we maximize those resources and then see where that we can do to help them. Because we know that our police force is a little bit smaller, but that shouldn't stop us from having the results that we want, which is lowering crime in our community.
Thank you. Well, we have reached the time for concluding statements, and in this case, each of you has 2 minutes for a concluding statement. We'll start with Mr. Nishihira, and then Ms. Robertson, and finally Ms. Wall.
Okay, so after marrying my wife Tina in 1998, I moved to Union City, New York. And over the last 26 years, I've learned to call our community home. And so together we raised 3 daughters, all of whom graduated from James Logan High School. Having raised 3 college-educated daughters, I understand our family's dreams and hopes and aspirations and the experiences of Union City. As a former Marine and one of the first Eagle Scouts in Troop 20 chartered here in Union City, service has always been central to my life. I currently serve on 2 Union City-based nonprofits that focus on public education, food insecurity, and environmental sustainability. I've served on school site councils across several locations within our community, and I'm honored presently to serve as one of your elected governing board members here at the Union High School District. I've held the position of board president twice. I've earned my master's in governance from the California School Boards Association, and with over 22 years of career experience in Silicon Valley, I know how to get things done. So please join the New Haven Teachers Association, International Association of Firefighters Local 55, the Union City Police Officers Association, as well as several other organizations in supporting my campaign to be your next city council member. I would appreciate your vote and support in November. Thank you.
Were you all able to hear him?
Yes.
Okay.
I can say it again.
Ms. Robertson?
Now I lost track.
Okay, this is a 2-minute closing.
Okay, oh yeah, I can ramble on, no problem. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that I am Erin Robertson. I am a candidate for District 1 here, City Council, and I'm definitely looking forward to servicing this community again. Like I said, I've served this particular community in 2019 to 2021 as a city bus driver. And I know doing that, I was able to come face to face with a lot of you here and, serve the community. And I see you guys around, and people reach out and, give me a hug and, because I've taken a lot of people to work and brought them back home. So, and this community is more like a extended family. No one's like in a bubble. Everyone is like, together, and we all work together. We all feed off of each other, and that's the thing that I appreciate about this community. And I would love to serve this community again. I think that the few things that I do want to talk about when I do get here, because I'm confident that I will, is affordable housing, financial stability, our safety, obviously, the business taxes, like we've discussed, and definitely the homeless crisis that our city is facing. The city has reduced the homeless population, and then the caravan program, I would definitely be interested in making sure that that program is properly funded so that it can go forward and help the city's homeless.
Thank you. Ms. Wong?
Okay. I immigrated from Taiwan 40 years ago at the age of 13. The first 13 years of my life were living under martial law. I understand the importance of speaking up. People have asked me, how do you make our elected leaders accountable? First, you speak up, you show up, you speak up, and you don't give up. After you elected me as the city councilwoman, I want you to continue to show up in a meeting like this. I have been attending city council meetings for nearly 3 years, from when it was from Zoom till recently. The only people that actually come to the city council meetings were actually special interest groups. So I want you, if I'm elected as leaders, I want you to hold me accountable as your city councilwoman. And I'll remember, I will be your voice. I will speak up for you. And that's the most important thing. And then we have to go back to the basics of our Constitution and also abiding by laws. And that is very important. I graduated from UC Davis. I've been married to my first love for about 30 years. I have 2 boys. They all went to New Haven Unified. They play water polo. And one have just graduated from UCLA, and one is in UCLA. I'm grateful for this, the opportunity this country has given me to prosper. But right now, Union City is at a crossroad. With nearly $3 million in deficit, rising crimes, and higher taxation, we're at a choice right now. We have a choice. Who are you going to pick? School board members that for the past 8 years has an average of below average test scores for New Haven Unified. So which choice will be for you? The choice is yours. Who's going to be your next city council person? Thank you so much.
We want to be sure that all voters know about our vote411.org website. It's a comprehensive, nonpartisan online guide to elections covering federal, state, and local races in California. Go to vote411.org and you can get a personalized ballot that lists all the candidates and issues you'll be asked to decide about, along with links to information about each one of them. You can even check your polling location and create a cheat sheet for yourself if you'd like to take along to your polling place. Thank you to each candidate for your participation in this forum and for your willingness to serve. And thank you to the audience for watching this forum. Please remind your family and your friends to vote no later than November 5th. all of the questions submitted, but we'll try and cover the most frequently asked topics. Each candidate has up to 1.5 minutes to answer each question. Candidates, our volunteer timekeepers here will help keep track of time. And if you would like for me to repeat the question, please ask and I'm happy to do that. And again, as both of you already know, you don't have to feel obligated to use your entire 1.5 minutes to answer the questions. So I will vary the order in which I direct the questions to both of you, and it's going to be somewhat easier since we only have 2 candidates here. At the end of the forum, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. With that, let's meet the candidates today. We have Emily Duncan and Gary Singh. So, thank you for the applause as we begin the program, but I am going to request that you hold your applause till the end so we can get through as many questions as we can with our candidates. The first question goes to Ms. Duncan. If you were to describe Union City to someone who's never visited the city, what would you say?
Thank you, Anu. If I had to describe Union City, I would say it is a little special gem that sits between 2 large cities that has everything you'd want in a city. We have hills, mountains, schools, parks, wonderful people, small downtown areas spread throughout the city, and we have the opportunity for growth because we have a lot of open space. It's a special place that's evolving, that's becoming more transit-oriented, that sits in a place that allows you to get to wherever you work, whether it's north or south, because we're situated in a place where you can get to the Silicon Valley, you can get to San Francisco. It is a wonderful haven to live in. I love it. I've lived in it for 40 years and wouldn't live anywhere else.
Thank you, Mr. Singh.
So, Union City is a very unique place for me. I moved in 1993 here, and I work on Alvarado and Dyer gas station. And then I opened up my own business in 1996, and I raised my kids here. It's a place where I live, and I'm gonna retire here. It's a unique place where the freeway goes through the city. We can get on either direction to San Jose or toward the state capital. We can go either direction. You know, it's a really unique place where have the hills and industrial areas well situated on the side, and we have our businesses on the side, and it's a great place to raise kids. On top of that, we have the diversity here, which is it meant a lot to me. Thank you.
I'm going to ask the audience to please hold your applause to the end. Thank you. The next question, we start with Mr. Singh. Why are you seeking this office, and what qualifies you to serve as mayor?
Thank you for the question. Well, Union City has made a significant progress in economic growth. There is still more needs to be done to fully realize our potential. As a mayor, I will focus on building a thriving local economy that supports both large and small businesses. By investing in infrastructure, improvement, and fostering the entrepreneurship initiative, we can create a business-friendly environment that encourages growth and innovation across the industries. One key area of focus will be attracting more biotech companies to Union City. Biotech is a rapidly growing sector that is generate a substantial revenue and provide high-quality jobs. Additionally, I will work on developing more hotels and motels to retail store in Union City, increasing city revenue, which we can reinvest in the community and service and the infrastructure. My goal is to create a balanced approach to economic development where our businesses of all sizes thrive and contribute to the city's long-term financial health.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan?
Please repeat the question.
Why are you seeking this office and what qualifies you to serve?
Thank you. So I served as your council member for 12 years, from 2010 to 2022, when I termed out. And part of that, I served as a Human Relations Commissioner for 3 years. Prior to getting involved with public service, I worked in the technology industry, and I led global teams focused on creating a diverse and inclusive work environment in every one of our business locations around the world. For the past 2 years, since I termed out, I've been very involved with local nonprofit organizations. I currently serve on 3 nonprofit boards: the New Haven School Foundation, the Washington Hospital Healthcare Foundation, the Union City Lions Club, and Centro. And while I was on the board, on the council, I chaired the Economic Development Advisory Team, I led the Youth Violence Prevention Task Force, I led our Community and Police Engagement Task Force, and I've served on several regional committees, including the Alameda County Transportation Commission, Alameda County Stop Waste, the League of California Cities. Also, I'm a problem solver, I'm an experienced leader, I love this city, and I think I'm ready to lead it. Thank you.
The next question will start with you, Ms. Duncan. What are the top 3 issues the city is facing, and how would you approach finding solutions for them?
I think the top 3 issues right now for the city have been covered many times by the previous panel, but I'll repeat them again. I think that public safety is a priority. Every resident that I run into talks to me about some concern they have about cars being broken into, stolen, catalytic converters disappearing. I think public safety is one of our #1 priorities. I think increasing affordable housing is very important. And as we build out our station district, a large percentage of those homes will be affordable housing. And I think we need to ensure that all housing development in the city has a significant component that is affordable. And of course, identifying resources for the unhoused. I know the city's made great progress in this area. They've put together a team, but I think that there's more we can do, and I would make that the 3rd priority.
Mr. Singh?
So my top priority as well is the safety, financial stability, and affordable housing. So as we continue to work on the safety of our citizens, we thrived last 2 years to make significant changes in our city, such as fog camera. We installed 28 cameras in Union City. And previous council member, they were talking about the crime here. Yeah, because the crime was reduced due to the cameras, this fog camera, read license plate only, and it made a huge difference in the Union Landing area and some other area. So still a lot more work needs to be done. We need to continue to work on it, but these problems don't go away. So recent, just this month, there were the 3 break-in over on Cambridge Drive where people came from Lemonade, as you know, and they broke the garage door and they got in to break into the car. So that's one of my priority. Secondly, the financial stability is crucial for our city growth and sustainability. I will work to create a balanced budget, increase revenue through the Smart Economic Initiative, and ensure our resources are allocated effectively. We are working with the planning department to rezone some of the warehouses so we can create more jobs, local jobs, more revenue for the city. And affordable housing is already underway, about 831 at the Dakota and 7th Street. So those are the 3 priority. And then the 4th one is the homeless issue. We continue to work on it.
The next question, we start with you, Mr. Singh. How would you describe the role of a mayor, and how is that different from that of a council member?
So I think the role of the mayor is the leadership. And the leader can take you either far away or do nothing. And this is what happened last 12 years. We didn't have any progress here. We were continuing to bury the deficit. I came in 2018, there was a $3 million deficit back then, and there is still right now there is no deficit right as we speak. We have a surplus right now of about $17 million. So as a leader, first thing I need to fix is our zoning and our industrial area where we can grow more revenue on the warehouses, where I answered some of the question later, but we have to fix our planning department. That's where the revenue comes from. So we need to, as a leader, that's one of the priority, and I'm glad we have a great leaders here in this Union City, such as our chief, our city manager, the great people working here. So I'm very confident I can get this thing going if I become a mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan?
So the role of the mayor. So the role of the mayor is to provide leadership. The role of the mayor is to facilitate a city council that can work together to get things done for the city. And I think the mayor also has the responsibility of representing the city in the city, representing the city outside of the city, and sometimes even internationally. And so I think the role of the city is very important because you have to keep things moving during the council meeting. You've got to keep everyone engaged in the process, and you've got to get everyone committed to solving the problems of the city. Because I think that as council members and leaders, we don't come to this forum to solve our own personal issues. We're here on behalf of the city. And I think that is the role of the mayor, is to get the team working, moving in the right direction, agreeing on what the priorities ought to be. They're not the mayor's priorities. Everyone on the council gets an opportunity to give input, to help put together the strategic plan. The council puts one together every 5 or 6 years. They do that as a team. And once they've done that, they need to work together to accomplish that. And the mayor's role is to facilitate that process. Get people engaged, bring the resources in, and make sure that the council is moving this city in the direction we need to go to solve the problems for our residents.
We'll start with Ms. Duncan on this next question. The city's 10-year financial forecast shows a structural deficit each year. Please explain what a structural deficit is and how this impacts the general fund and the reserve forecast.
So a structural deficit, as I understand it, I'm not the finance director, but as I understand it, a structural deficit means that the city's spending exceeds the revenues. And so right now, our city is having a structural deficit because we have more expenses than we have revenue. But we have a little piggy bank. We have our reserves. And so the reserves are there to help us in those times when we're not meeting the current needs. And we have probably, if you look at our financial plan, 3 to 5 years out where we can comfortably continue to move forward using our reserves. But at that point, we're going to hit a really important point in our planning where we have to make a decision, where we might have to cut roles, we have to cut budget. But currently, we have a structural deficit because we're exceeding the expenses that we have. And at some point, our reserves won't be there for us, and we'll have to make those hard decisions. But we currently are in that place.
So right now, we don't have a deficit. we have a reserve $34 million. And our 20% reserve is $17 million. But we will have a deficit if we sit on our butt, don't do nothing for the next 6 years. That's the given, but if I become a mayor, and I can tell you, we will work hard to tackle this issue. And also we have the major QQ coming in, which is bringing $5.2 million, hopefully it will pass. And it will create a more revenue, and we can streamlining our priorities. So we continue to work on those financial work, and we have growth, our city, like Union Landing, or east side of the BART station, or we have a land over on west side of the town. We can utilize those land to create more revenues for our city. We will not sit and watch this to go the expenditure go high. I'm a small business owner. I know how to control this.
The next question is for you, Mr. Singh. We'll start with you. In your opinion, what innovative policies were included in your housing element update with respect to building affordable housing and addressing homelessness?
Thank you very much. So we already met the requirement for the state last year for 2,300 units. So we satisfied the state with the requirement. I know that this question was asked to the prior to this, the councils. And we continue to work on this minimum affordable housing, so there is a state requirement that you have to have a 25% in low-income housing. So someone won't say, well, no, build 100%. No, you cannot. You go what the state telling you, because we have a very limited land. So we will continue to work with the affordable housing. The other element of the affordable housing, we have it in pipe already, the accredited unit. They come in maybe next couple of years or 3 years. There'll be about 500 homes, which is going to be 25% of low-income housing. So we have a land also on the east side of our station, which you need to utilize as soon as someone become a mayor, to see how can we deal with that to bring that to either the biotech companies or building some retail stores. We have to utilize that land. It's sitting there doing nothing. So we have one of those developer. It continued to come back, and I think their term is expired right now.
You'll have to repeat that question again, I'm sorry.
In your opinion, what innovative policies were included in your housing element update with respect to building affordable housing and addressing homelessness?
I think the most exciting part of the element was the fact that it was built in a location where it would connect to BART. In addition to having affordable housing required in all the elements, the units will be built up, and we will have some single-family units there also. But the most important thing is it will be a part of a transit corridor. So the people that live in the area on the other side of our BART station, which is called the Station District, will be able to walk across a pathway and be right at BART. And they can go north, and they can go south, and they can do whatever they need. And that Station District will have parks in it, it will have small businesses in it, it will be a small unit in and of itself on the other side of the city that will bring in a lot of revenue and create a lot of homes for people. And I think once we get that area built out, it's going to be a very exciting part of the city. I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Ms. Duncan, we'll start with you. How should Union City apply the recent Supreme Court decision regarding homelessness?
Well, I think we have to apply the homelessness decision carefully. I think these individuals who are homeless They're Union City residents, many of them, and they've fallen on hard times. They may be on drugs, they may have mental health problems. And while we can go out and just move people away, I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think what we have to do is find solutions for the unhoused. We have to find temporary residences for them that come with wraparound services so that when we allow them to leave us, that they can move into affordable housing. That's the humane thing to do. And while we see them, and for some people they're frightened of them, they are our residents, they're our people, and we have to care about them. And we have to figure out how to find homes for them. And while in Union City we've made some progress, we've hired a team that's focused on meeting with the unhoused, understanding what their issues are, and we've actually reduced the number of unhoused. When we did our point in service count this year, it went down 60%. So we're having fewer, but for the ones that are here, we need to have more than just a street corner for them to live on. And I think that needs to be a priority for us. No matter what the Supreme Court decision said, I think we have to show some humanity and care about the people that are living on the streets in Union City and find a solution for them.
Mr. Singh?
So, thank you for the question. So when this Supreme Court decision came out, you know, about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we sat with the chief police and the city manager and the attorney, and we talked about how we want to deal with this. It's a very sensitive issue. You don't want to go out there and start chasing, you know, those individuals out there. So it was very a touchy question what the chief said. Hey, you know, why we need to be very due diligent about this to see there's a lot of out there they having a mental issue, or if our police department go out there, we understand they are on the Caltrain property and the sidewalk. We cannot just force them. We have to be some way to communicate with them, to being nice to them, to find out, to see how we can help them to move on or find a location somewhere else. And where that's exactly what happened last week. We had, I think, about 15 or 20 individuals on Pacific and the Dow Street, and police methodically, I'm so proud of it, they methodically went there over and over, like almost a week, and finally cleaned up everything. It was a complete mess there. So I'm so proud of our police department, which is, they're doing a great job as far as the, tackling this issue.
If the audience members have any questions, please make sure you send them to us here. There's some volunteers with cards and pencils around, so please send us your questions. This next question, we start with you, Mr. Singh. How would you select the vice mayor? Do you agree on the current method?
So this should be a short question. There is no method in the city right now. As long as you get 3 votes, you can get it, appoint the vice mayor.
So do you want to expand on how you choose the vice mayor?
Well, that's the method we have right now, but maybe we have to revisit and make sure, you know, we get the prioritized with the see how much experience you have, you know, who qualified to be a vice mayor. It's going to be a different ballgame in the next time coming. So I think we have to bring to the policy committee, see how we want to tackle this issue as a city council members, and then bring it back to the agenda item to see what we can accomplish out of this.
Ms. Duncan?
I was on the city council for 12 years, and there was an established policy of how we picked our vice mayor. And it was something that rotated every year. It had to do with number of votes that the individuals received in the previous election. And it was fair and it was equitable. So 1 year it would be mine, and then the next year it would move to the next person, and it would move to the next person. And at some point along the way, some individuals on the council felt like it was their right to choose who got to be the vice mayor. That is not the policy. And if the policy is going to change, I think the council should get together as a team, write a policy, and approve policy, because we have had a long-standing policy in Union City of the mayor, vice mayor rotating between each council member.
Keep in mind, this is a district election, so it's difficult to do that way. It used to be at large.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. We start with Ms. Duncan on this question. What is your position on recreational cannabis stores locating in residential neighborhoods? And there was more than one question on that.
So I think that cannabis stores should not locate in residential areas or near schools. And when the cannabis policy in Union City was established, it clearly states that it shouldn't be near residential areas, shouldn't be near schools, and they should be located in isolated areas. It is our policy, and I support it. I was there when it was written, and I think if policy is going to stand for anything, we should honor the policies that we have. Locating near schools in residential areas should not happen.
So I just wanted to go back a little bit. I was interviewed by the Democratic Party about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Ms. Duncan said right out there, they asked this question: do you support or oppose the dispensary? So her answer was yes. I am in favor to bringing the dispensary to Union City. I just wanted to clarify that. And you can watch the video out there. And I was opposed, and that's one of the reasons, you know, they went against me, because I still stand for my opinion. I've been voting no since 2018, and I will continue to vote no matter what happened here. I will not vote yes on this. I can lose election, there's no issue with that, but I will continue to vote no on this. Whatever has happened in the future, we'll see from there on.
Moving on to the next question. Mr. Singh, we'll start with you, and this is a two-part question. How can public spaces be protected, and how can funding be found for recreational services?
So thank you for your question. We have a very limited land right now as we speak, and we are continuing to work what we have. My personal plan is to work with the Union Landing, the owners. There's like 13 or 16 owners there. So there's some space left there, so we need to have some economic growth there, grow some revenue there on the place. Also, there is a 21 acres on the west side of the town. We need to utilize that place, and there is a Kirk or developer over on Union City Boulevard. They bought the land on Union City Boulevard, so we need to continue to bring those biotech companies to utilize the land what we have. And what was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
How can funding be found for recreational services?
So we hired the lobbyists. They are working for us. They brought us $661,000 this year for us for our system to use. I think police got like $1.4 million individually. So I think we did a great job. One of the council member, Hani Patina, he brought that, talked to that company and the lobbyist, and got him over here. And we're very fortunate with David, and we continue to bring the funding for us to create more jobs here.
Ms. Duncan?
So if I understand the question, it's how are we going to fund recreational space and open space? Is that correct?
No, it's how can public spaces be protected? And the second question is how can funding be found for recreational services?
Well, I think that recreational spaces are built into our city plan. We are not building in any of our parks or any of our open spaces. And I think that as facilities are developed, open spaces are a part of the development in those plans. But I would agree we need to look outside the city for revenue where we can to continue to explore creative ways to bring in more recreational facilities for our youth.
Ms. Duncan, we'll start with you. The Union City Police Department is understaffed because of the structural deficit. What would you suggest we do to enhance and increase the number of police officers we have?
Our police department is understaffed, and I think that we have to do more to increase our revenues so that we can fully staff the police department. We're currently down about 8 officers, and even though we've moved to this new model that aligns with our districts and community policing, we still don't have enough police officers to be fully staffed at all times. And I think bringing in staff, paying staff and developing staff is the key part of what we have to do to address this issue. And as we move forward to solve our structural deficit, as we look for ways to bring in new revenue, which is going to involve bringing in new businesses to help us solve this problem, we're going to have to make staffing our police department a priority.
So first of all, I want to clarify, I think we are very fortunate in Alameda County. We are the most complete staff in policing in Union City. All these cities like Fremont, Hayward, they're short like 100 people. It's a huge shortage out there for the police officer. So we are very fortunate because our police chief and the commanders, they continue to train the youngster and put them on the street, which is it's a great thing. I would say in the future, what we need is the community policing at least 2 more units, roughly at least. Those units are very important because there's continued breaking the cars, stealing murders. In one instant, they drove into the garage on the Cambridge Drive this month alone. I have the case number if someone wants. So those things are happening. So the community policing is very, very important. So I will continue to work with the police department to see how we can make more changes to bring more youngsters in.
Did you answer the question? You did, yes. Mr. Singh, we'll start the next question with you. As mayor, how do you plan on working with council members on issues that are difficult and where you may disagree?
This is a great question. That's the key for the leadership. That's where the leadership comes. So you need to have your council members together in order to accomplish your goal. Otherwise, you continue to struggle. So I'm one of those guys. It doesn't really matter if you're Democrat or Republican. I will go across the aisle to talk to them. That's a strength, not a weakness, to put the city first. And that's what we need here. We're missing that. This is a huge issue we're facing as a city council member and mayor because lack of communication. Lack of communication created a lot of issues. For instance, the vice mayors, the question earlier, that's a lack of communication. So those things should not be happening if you continue to work with your city council member, and I can guarantee you, if I become a mayor, I will continue to work with my city council member and see what the differences are and solve the problem. Thank you.
Ms. Duncan?
I think that the council has to work as a team. And when the council comes together, the priorities for the council are to solve the problems in the community. And it's not about the individual personalities of the council members. And we all have unique differences in our personality and occasionally may disagree. But I think the thing that will align the council and get them working together is to come up with a common set of goals, a common set of priorities, where everyone has the opportunity to agree, number one, on what they are. And once we're in agreement, then we have to come up with solutions that work for the city. It's not about any one of us individually, the mayor or a council member. We sit here in these roles to solve the problems of Union City residents. And anyone who has raised their hand and taken the oath to sit here as a council member needs to make that commitment, that once we identify and agree on what the priorities are for our city, we will work together to solve them and to move forward, to make the city a better place to work, and not get caught up in personalities and individual concerns. That's not the role of the city council.
Ms. Duncan, the next question is for you. We start with you. How important to you is community involvement and service-based projects for electeds?
I can't speak for every elected, but I can speak for myself. Being involved in the community is very important. I think I mentioned in my opening statement that I'm very involved with 4 nonprofit organizations. And I think being involved with the community helps you stay connected to the community, what the needs are, where the opportunities are, and how we as a council can begin to solve those issues. And everyone serves in different ways. The way that I choose to serve my nonprofits may not be the way that every council member serves. But I truly believe that in order to stay connected to the residents and to the community, being involved in the community is critical.
So talk about the involvement with the community. So when pandemic came in March 2020, and there was a huge buzz in the city. People cannot go out, they cannot buy the food. So I talked to my colleagues and asked them, hey, what can we do here to help these senior citizens? So we opened up the food drive. And back then we were serving twice a week, the lunch, the grocery. We even have the drive-through. They come in, open the trunk, put the grocery in there, give them a sandwich, they're on their way, and we continue to do that. Also, I'm involved with the Centro, where I have those individuals come in and don't have no jobs, have kids, they can't go any place. I help them to get on their feet. You know, if there's a minor repair, I do that for them to get them on their feet, and if there's battery needed, I put a battery in there to get them on they're having kids and get them on their feet. And I continue to work with that. I also member of the Daily Bowl, and I maintain their vehicle there, you know, last 5 years. I have a great community involvement. I continue to be involved with the community, any charity, any event I attended. I help those individuals any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Say, we'll start with you on this. As mayor, what would you do to address the climate crisis and work on getting people to be aware of what the issues are?
So I think the, first of all, I will do to hold the, we have a so-called a new model of community policing model, where the, you know, each district has their commanders to hold their coffee with the police, and those kind of meetings. So we continue to have a dialogue. This is very important to have a community dialogue. This is a huge, since we're doing this for the last 2 or 3 years, a lot less complaint. It used to be a lot of complaint about the, you know, the police or other matters. But right now, since we engage with the community, it's not a lot of problem. You know, even me going to door, asking people what their concerns are, they feel better. They feel like somebody heard their voice and they wanted to talk to you. They wanted to tell you what happened. Those are the things I will do to continue to have a dialogue, have a communication with all the citizens in the neighborhood to find out what are their priorities, what would they like the council to do for them. And those are things that are very important. I'm a small business owner. If I don't listen to my customer, I'll be running out of business. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
Ms. Duncan?
I thought your question was about the climate action plan.
Correct.
Did I hear that correct?
Yes.
So Union City has a climate action plan, and as we update that every year, we bring residents in to talk to us about their issues in the community. And we prioritize things that we want to do in our community to begin to address those issues. Electrifying our buses, electrifying our city vehicles. So we have a plan in place where we're trying to do as much as we can to not use gas where we can, and to electrify and to minimize all of that toxicity that is put in the air. And I think what we need to do as residents is to continue to keep our eye on our climate action plan, to make sure that we're regularly checking in with it to see where we're going, and that we involve our residents in it, because we have people in the community who are very involved. A big part of our plan is bicycle lanes, making sure that individuals can get out of their cars and get to where they need to go. And so that's a big part of our climate action plan. And we need to stay connected to our residents, to what they think will help keep the climate safe and keep Union City safe. So I think we need to update our climate action plan probably more often than we do. But we have a plan, and we need to keep our eye on it and implement it.
Ms. Duncan, we'll start the next question with you. Land use issues such as housing, mobility, transportation are not city issues, they're regional. How would you play a regional stewardship role in shepherding some of these issues?
Well, I think it's a key role of the mayor to represent the city at these regional meetings, to be at the table, to understand where there's an opportunity to access funds for transportation or other issues that potentially could benefit the city. But I think it's a very important role to be present in these regional forums where there's an opportunity to make sure that we can benefit and connect to the work that they're doing, because we're a smaller city in the area and we can leverage and benefit from that. And that's a key part of the mayor's role, is to be the voice of our city in those regional forums, to make sure we're present, we're talking about our needs, we're building the relationships that will allow us to take advantage of the services that they provide.
So I think it's the mayor's and council's role as well to get it connected with our the assemblywoman or our senator person. We hardly have anyone visited here lately, so we need to continue to have a dialogue with them to see if there is a funding available out there so we can utilize those fundings. I think Mayor's doing a great job with the transportation. I have to give her credit on that. She worked hard on that to bring a lot of information from there. So we need to have a more leverage. So now we've hired a lobbyist. So we hopefully will get more funding from the federal government and state and Alameda County. So that's what we need to do as a city council member and the mayor work together and bring more revenue to the city.
Mr. Singh, we'll start the next question with you. Over the last few years, the state has mandated a whole lot of legislation around streamlining and land use and housing issues. Where do you stand on the balance between the state's role and local control of land use issues?
I think this is a huge, that we cannot give the state a control on the land use issue. And I think that question is swirling around for last, I would say 3 years or 4. We cannot afford, like we have the land over on the east side of the bar station where we need to utilize the land. So for instance, this city hall, there is not enough room over here for the police department, library. They all squeeze in one place here, so we need to figure it out to if we can utilize that land on the east side of the bar station. I know city don't have no funding to build that kind of facility, but maybe someday maybe we can have a bond or something to get that thing moving, because this land use is very, very important. I think there's an initiative out there right now about the land use, if I'm not mistaken. So land use is very important for the housing, for the, since we don't have a 1% land left in Union City, so we need to work with what we have.
I think the land use issue is an issue where we have to work in partnership with our regional and county organizations, because they have access to the resources, they have access to funds. I am not supportive of giving them control of what we do in our city, but I do think it's important, once we make our plan, that we work with the regional bodies, the state bodies, and maybe even the United States body to get funding for programs we want in our city. But we can't do it alone. We have to be present at the table. We have to have a plan. We have to be able to communicate our plan. And we have to go out and rally for the resources for our city. And I think that's an important role of the mayor and every council member.
Ms. Duncan, we'll start this with you. What is your understanding of placement of campaign signs? What do you do if you become aware of a misplaced sign? And we had over 3 questions on that.
Well, it's my understanding that campaign signs should be placed on private property with permission of the owner. That you ask the resident, if I can place my sign here, and you do that. Signs that are placed in the public right-of-way are in violation of our sign policy, and it's my understanding that city staff will pick them up, take them to our corporation yard where they have a nice box that they put excess signs in if they're in places that they shouldn't be. But technically, they should be in private property with the permission of the property owner.
So, yes, I have the same answer. Yeah, it has to be, get it confirmed by the owner, and place the sign in the private property, not in the city right away. There's few signs out there. They was hanging in the medians since Saturday, and also was tying up with the one of those 35 miles of speed. This is unacceptable. This is wrong. So I think we all know what the rules are and what we should follow.
Mr. Singh, we'll start with you. How do you prepare to have a citywide project to meet the demands of an emergency plan for citizens? This is an audience question, so I am not going to be able to explain what this is, but I'll ask you the question again. How do you propose to have a citywide project to meet the demands of an emergency plan for citizens?
I think we have the CERT a committee over on Central Avenue. They meet so often to talk about the emergency plan. I'm not sure that question is wide enough to elaborate on that question. So the best I can say, we have the CERT that they're working on those emergency plans, and we do have it like our Sikh temple or Lady of the Rosary Church. They are available if there is an emergency. Out there at St. Anne Church, they are available for the shelter if just in case something happen. Those are the places are available for the emergency. That's all I can elaborate on that question.
Ms. Duncan?
So the city does have a disaster plan. They have a disaster planning team The council and the mayor are a part of that. And in that plan, we do plan for emergencies. And if we haven't done it recently enough for people to remember that it exists, this might be a great opportunity for us to refresh on it. But we do have a disaster plan and a disaster team here in the city. And it's important that our leadership know what the plan is, know how to call the plan together when we need the members, and that we keep it updated. And it would be a good thing for us even to communicate it to our residents, because it sounds like from the question that people may not know that we do have a disaster plan and that we have a disaster planning team. And maybe there's an opportunity for us to put something on the website, invite people into the process, give an update to folks in the community. But we do have a disaster plan, and we need to keep it updated and current and involve our residents in it.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, the next question is for you. What city services do you believe are essential, especially as it relates to our youth?
I like the answer that was given earlier about transportation. I think for our youth, we need to make sure that they have access to our buses and our communication vehicles so that they can get to school, so that they can get to our wonderful parks. And I also think we need to make sure that we have bicycle lanes available for the youth so that they can also travel around the city safely on our bicycle lanes, and we're currently updating several of them in the city, and I think that that will benefit our youth. But as it relates to getting to school and doing important things that they need to do, I think having access to our public transportation is really important, since we don't have school buses at every location anymore. So I think that would be key.
So yeah, the transportation is the most valuable tool for the youth out there. They have to utilize that to use their Clipper card, or any way they can ride a bus. I think one of the school board trustees touched this before, that we have the bus service now during the rush hours. So they transfer all the kids up and down on Alberta Niles. I seen those buses going up and down. I think we didn't have that like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. This has happened, I believe, this year or last year, recently, which is a good thing. So we need to more collaborate with the school board trustee to have more services for the kids, so they can use the libraries and use the bike lane any way they can to do their homeworks and stay out of the truck.
This next question, we'll start with you, Mr. Singh. How would you deal with Union City's many different cultural backgrounds?
So, yeah, I mentioned prior to this, diversity is a key thing in Union City. So we have like 8 different countries we celebrate, so-called a sister city. We celebrate every year. We bring all the foods. There's the flags up there. There's not 8 flags yet, but there's a few of them up there. So that's one way to collaborate with the different cultures. Like I'm a Sikh. There's a lot of Muslims, for South Africa, Nigeria. There's different cultures, Korea, Thailand, China, Mexico. There's a whole bunch of countries. We participate once a year, bring all the food and have their cultural dances there. That brings the peace together, and I really like it. We need to explore more, so we will continue to do what we can. I'm one of the board members as well.
I think diversity is our strength. It's what makes Union City special. It's a very diverse city. And while we do our sister city celebration once a year, I think there are plenty of opportunities for us to acknowledge and engage with each other throughout the year, because each one of us have different cultural habits, different food desires, and we need to make sure that as a city that we are able to respond to the rich diversity of all the members of our city all the time, not just during city sister cities, although it is a wonderful celebration and everyone should attend. But we should be able to show up and find that our culture and our needs are being met, because there are some cultures that are represented in larger amounts than others. But that doesn't mean that we should relegate any culture to not being important. So I think that it is our strength, and we need to leverage it, and we need to make sure that we have a way to reach out and interact with all the different communities in Union City. Make sure that they are engaged with the council and the leadership of the city, because the council may miss something. And if we do, this is an opportunity for the community to talk to the residents, to talk to the council about the needs of the residents in their community. So I think we need to keep an open dialogue, and we need to make sure that as a city, we are leveraging the great diversity that exists here in Union City.
Ms. Duncan, in addition to the commissions that you currently have in Union City, as mayor, what additional commissions would you consider adding?
Well, I don't know that I would add any, but as we've had this conversation, it's become clear to me that there are some that we need to activate, that we need to get more involved, that we need to see more activity going on. And I think that it would be great if we had residents involved actively in all of the committees and projects that we're working on. And I think for the large part, we've done a great job. We've got a great set of commissioners and commissions, and they're interviewed, they're changed regularly. And I think that things like our land use plans, station district, we have committees all the time that we involve people in, and I think that we just need to make sure that we rotate the people that we involve in our committees and our commissions, so that no one set of individuals can make that determination for us, and so that we continue to refresh, renew, bring new perspectives to our committees, and get our community as involved as we can in what's going on in the city. So I don't see anything at this moment that I would change, but I do hear and think about things that we've talked about that I think we could activate and move forward more aggressively with.
So, yeah, I agree with Ms. Duncan that we don't need to change anything, but we do need to have more communication with our commissioners. We meet them once a year. In my opinion, it's not enough. We need to have a more communication. We need to get like a HRC commission. We need to have them get involved with the community more often. And planning commission, they are, they own their own bodies. We hardly see them to get involved with the city council member or for that matter. So we need to continue to have a communication with them, and everything's working well on that department.
So this will be our last question before we pivot to our closing statements. Mr. Singh, we'll start with you. Both you and Ms. Duncan have served on City Council for many years. What are 3 things that you're most proud of? 3 achievements that you're most proud of when on council? Yes.
So I came in, elected in 2016, and I continue to work. I'm one of those person that can work with anybody. I have a tolerance. So I work, and then I see there was a deficit back then, $3 million. So I talked to one of the city council members in San Leandro named Bentley, and I asked him, how can we tackle these issues? And he asked me, hey, you can, audit the city. That's one way to fine tune, to make sure all jobs are up to date. That technology is changing so rapidly. Jobs were good enough last year, it's not good enough this year. So you have to continue to evolve. So with the help of former council member Lauren Ellis, I brought to the agenda this item, and I was able to put them on, get the survey done, get the consultant, get the information. We were 3 years later, we were able to save $4.2 million. That was my first accomplishment. And then secondly, we worked on the tobacco issue. We were able to, all council members worked very hard, not just me, to get through this tobacco. That was issue coming back and forth for almost 2 years. And we were able to put this to work. And it worked really well. So our youth won't go out there and buy one of those cigarettes. And the third thing is, I work tirelessly on the business license tax. And that's my first achievement.
Thank you. Stop it.
So as I think of 3 things that I'm most proud of, the most recent one that comes to mind is our Police and Community Engagement Task Force. For those of you who may or may not remember when we had the George Floyd tragedy, we had a lot of people in the streets marching and saying, defund the police, we don't need them anymore, they're killing people. And I think it was an opportunity for us to bring the community and the police together. And I was tagged at that time by the mayor to lead that task force. And it was an opportunity for us to bring the residents and the police together to talk about what the community felt they were or were not doing, and for the police to hear them say, we could do this better, we need more of this, we need less of that. And out of that Police and Community Task Force came the evolution of what we know of today to be our community policing effort. It's moved out into our districts, but it was the beginning of the police beginning to see themselves as getting back out in the community and reconnecting with our residents. I feel very good about that because it was a difficult time, not only in Union City, but across the world. And earlier in my career, we had an incident where we had youth violence at our high schools. Kids were shooting at each other. I don't know where they got guns at that time. But we also had a similar issue. And I was also asked at that time to work on our youth violence program. And I had the opportunity to pull together a team of people, use the ceasefire model that they had in Boston, and come up with a process that would engage our youth in a way that they would no longer, hopefully, be engaging in violence.
We'll now move to closing statements. Each of you has 2 minutes. We'll start with Ms. Duncan.
Thank you, everyone, for your thoughtful questions and discussion, challenges and opportunities. It's always helpful to learn from our community members. My priority, as I've said before, I will say again, are improving our public safety, increasing resources for our unhoused residents, providing more affordable housing, stabilizing our city finances, and be very willing to engage with and hear from the community. I'm proud to be endorsed by the Democratic Party and a broad coalition of community members, elected officials, including our local mayor, Councilmember Scott Sakakari, neighboring council members, Planned Parenthood, our New Haven School Association, and our Police Officers Association. I've invested myself in the community knows me, they trust me, and I would be very honored to have your support and your vote.
So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm running for mayor of Union City because I believe in the strength of our community and the impact of collaboration, leadership, the resilience of our residents inspired me, and together I know we can continue driving positive changes for our city. While we have made progress in economic growth, there is more to be done. As a mayor, I will work to build a thriving local economy that supports both large and small businesses by investing in the infrastructure such as a biotech companies. Therefore, I will create more jobs. We can create a robust economy, environment for all, safety and well-being for our My top priority, I will collaborate with the law enforcement and community organizations to enhance public safety and address the crime's root causes. This includes investing in the community program, mental health services, ensuring our neighbors are safe and welcoming. Diversity is essential to my vision. Every resident deserves to be evaluated and heard. I will focus on embracing diversity, advocating an affordable housing, improving access to the education and health care, creating a civic engagement opportunities. I seek for your support to address our challenges and seize new opportunity, creating Union City that is prosperous, equitable, and just. Thank you for your time. I look forward to working together, building a future with you. And just last thing I wanted to say that Ms. Duncan said she's a problem solver, and the problem hasn't been solved for the last 12 years. So we need a new leadership. Thank you very much.
We still have a couple of minutes of announcements. We want to thank both of you for your participation in this forum and for your willingness to run for office and continue to serve the community. So thank you very much. We also want to make sure that all voters know about our vote411.org website. It is a comprehensive, nonpartisan online guide to elections covering federal, state, and local races in California. So please go to vote411.org. You can also get a personalized ballot that lists all the candidates and issues that you will be asked to decide about, along with links to information about each. You can even check your polling location and create a cheat sheet of your choices to take along with you when you vote. We want to thank the audience for your participation and for watching this forum. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so please remind your family and friends to vote no later than November 5th. Thank you.